Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm very excited to have this individual on the show. Her name is Lori Oliver. She's the co-founder and CEO of the Inactive Company. I'm really excited to talk to her about the topic of sleep. Sleep has become a major topic in recent years, probably going back more in the recent years, but she's here to talk about it. Her company is doing amazing work helping us sleep better, and I'm so glad she's on. Lori, welcome.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm so happy to be here and appreciate it.
I appreciate you too. And before we dive into it, I'm always fascinated by how people get into roles. And you're doing amazing work, Lori. Like I said, I checked out the website, the Inactive Company, and I wish I would have had this years ago. I'm going to order one. You
Hey,
know,
I'll send you one.
but how did you get into this? I know you're a journalism major from the University of Georgia, but it's always and you have obviously that entrepreneurial spirit. So how did you get into this?
Well, I started off actually in the corporate world, Patrick. I
Yeah.
graduated college in Georgia, but then simply wanted to get the heck out of the South and moved to Los Angeles. It was a little bit
LA.
random, yeah, but I just felt the pull to something bigger, hadn't really had a chance to see the world and thought that California would be a great place to start. So I
Yeah.
was fortunate to get a job with a Fortune 50 corporation at the time.
Mhm.
Was a company that made it was a big government contractor that made satellites and all kinds of Department of Defense equipment. And because I was a journalism major, was a started as a communications specialist as a 22-year-old,
Wow.
and worked with that division for several years. But then simultaneously, and we're talking the late 80s here, information systems, data became important. Computers, mainframes became the future. And the company I worked for, which at the time was called TRW,
Yeah.
was also managing a big financial data repository. And they were creating lots of businesses as spin-offs as part of the data that they were collecting. It was people's financial data, credit reports, that sort of thing. And so I was able to get a job as a marketing manager in a startup inside the big company, new division that I started. And I was one of 12 people that grew a real estate loan services company. What we did was consolidate all the services that you put together when you're buying a house.
Okay.
So, appraisals, title insurance, mortgage documents, all those things were mom and pop, businesses. Nobody had really aggregated them and consolidated them into a national provider. So that's what we did. And we grew this company, starting with 12 of us, to $360 million in about 4 years.
Wow. Now, how old were you at that point when you did that? Because you said so
I was
you're,
very young and knew nothing, had no business doing that sort of thing. By that time, I was probably 26.
but so I love that because it's like building a plane in the air. You keep going and you're like, you learn as you go and this might fail, but then you keep going.
And this was way before incubators, startup resources,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
internet. You couldn't just Google something and
Angel
find it.
investors and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
flying blind. So it was
yeah.
it was a lot of fun. It was a great learning experience. But I think that's where I got the entrepreneurial bug. To answer your question with a
No.
long answer.
No, I love it. And you made me think, Lori, when you were talking about it. I mean, I graduated, high school in 1987. So I remember taking computer classes, and maybe you can relate to this, but the
Yep,
floppy
yep,
disks and
yep.
it's just so much, playing Pong and stuff. We thought it was the best thing in the world. It was so advanced at the
Exactly. We've come
So
a
tell
long.
me, yeah, we've come so much, and I tell people, you probably know this. I mean, I tell people, my kids are older; they're 32 and 24, and you have more. You know this. You have more computing power in your hand than the Apollo astronauts had in the 60s.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes. I have three grown
Imagine
kids and they don't appreciate that at
you
all.
have
They
three.
can't
You have three what?
get that.
Kids? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember. You probably remember. The the phones on the wall, they look like, they look at me like I have a second head when I tell them this. I was like, yeah, we got phones on the wall that 50-foot cords that wrapped all around the home.
That's right.
Anyway,
That's right. Back in the
so
day.
how did you get into, let's talk about the Inactive Company because this is a very important topic. And for all the first responders out there and the veterans listening, Lori's information along with her company, the Inactive Company, will be linked up in the show notes. But sleep is a very important topic. A lot of times, I don't think we talk about it enough, and how much we need to sleep. It's a regenerative, it helps our body. So, how did you get into this? And go ahead.
Well, after the entrepreneurial company inside the big Fortune 50 job, I spent the next 25 years mostly working in corporate and consulting jobs. But I was married to a police officer myself when I lived in California. And unfortunately, after 5 years of marriage, it ended in
Yeah,
divorce.
it's tough. It's tough, man. I tell you.
I had yep, long story short, I was a single mother too. I had a
Yeah,
16-month-old child, and
yeah.
I was very focused on providing for my son at the time, who was
Hmm.
16 months old. And so I was all in on climbing the corporate ladder. And I worked crazy hours. I was taking care of an infant on my own, and I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I grew up. I'm the daughter of an exercise physiology PhD professor from the University of Georgia and a nurse with a master's degree. So I grew up in this very health and sport conscious family, and so that's my orientation. I always think of myself as a healthy person, but especially during that time, and this is, it escalated in my 30s. I did not sleep well, and I didn't think people noticed, but what I know now is people notice. And what so now I'm on a mission to help people sleep better and understand what you were saying about all the benefits that sleep
Yeah.
provides. um
Now, what I just want to, if you don't, if willing to
yeah,
share. So when I have a hard time sleeping, because I imagine people have different symptoms, my problem is the inability to shut off my mind. I think
yeah,
that's what I hear from a lot of people is my mind is constantly racing. I'm always thinking about, the day ahead or the day, in the morning, what I have to do and things like that. So it takes me a while. I've gotten better over the years. But then I could be sleeping for 2 or 3 hours and then all of a sudden I'll wake up and then,
that's
go to
how.
the bathroom because I'm getting old and then come back. And then it takes me a while to get readjusted and sleep. And then sometimes it's two or three times.
Yeah.
What's the cause? Is this just act of mine or what?
Well, yes. And what I think, look, a lot of us deal with this, like you said at the top of this conversation. It really is epidemic. People
Yeah.
are struggling at amazing rates to sleep well, and some are having a hard time getting to sleep. Others are having a hard time staying asleep.
Hmm.
And what the first thing I would like to say is that getting good sleep at night starts in the morning.
Yeah.
So, what we're trying to teach people is get used to starting your day with a certain routine. And if you can get into a routine, you will be shocked at how easily you can fall asleep at night. And how, when you do wake up, which is natural to wake up during, you go through your circadian rhythm throughout the
Yeah.
night. You're in light sleep and deep sleep, and you can wake up at certain times, but you should be able to easily go back to sleep. So if you start focusing first of all on what you do in the morning, and then you kind of just adopt a very simple but consistent routine that works for you, and we can talk about how to do that
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. I
You
would
will be
love to
shocked.
hear that because
You'll
I
be
have
shocked at
a,
how you
I
how
have
you
a
can.
routine, Lori, in the morning. I mean, I get up, no matter if I get good sleep or not, I get up, I pray, I do some meditation, I do some journaling, I do a little workout, and then I do that all the time. Is that what you're talking about routine or something specific
Yes.
regarding sleep?
Yes. And one other piece, and I don't know if you do this or not, Patrick, but is getting morning light into your eyes.
See, I
Look,
don't do that. I don't
the
do
one
that. You
thing that
talk about the
I
sun. You talk about the sun, or you talking
talking
about
about the sun.
just
I'm talking about outdoors and not looking at
okay?
the sun, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah.
it is a proven fact. And I've now been doing this for the last 2 years. I go outside with my first cup of coffee and I try to sit quietly. That's where I do my quiet time. I don't look at screens. I simply sit outside and kind of take in the morning light. And what that does is starts to reset your circadian rhythm, which sets you
Wow,
up
I
for
didn't
a
know that.
good cycle at night.
I did not know that. I mean, I obviously know this. The sun is very good for us, but I didn't know that. So,
Absolutely.
wow. What do you think about? I've heard all these hacks about you can put your phone, you can change the color on your phone, because it does something. You know what I mean? Like if you had an Apple, I'm sure Android does it too, but you can turn off the colors. I've tried putting my phone away from the bed because all of us are
Good.
on our phones all the time.
That's right.
Um, what do you think about, let me ask you this, Lori. I mean, you've been doing this and you have a company with sleep. What do you think about, can you get off? And I don't take sleeping aids, and I'm not knocking people that do. Do you think people could get off those if they develop some good habits and stuff like that to improve their sleep?
Quite possibly. I mean, everybody should be, if they're using sleep aids, they should be doing that under the direction of a medical
Yeah,
doctor.
absolutely. Yeah.
What we're now learning is even as simple things that we thought were benign, like Benadryl, I'm going to pick on a brand name, is can be really detrimental for your brain over time.
Oh,
So
I'm guilty of that. When I was a cop, I remember, when I get off, I work nights, like I told you before we started, and I would get, home at 6 a.m. and sometimes I couldn't sleep. So I'd take Benadryl, knock me out.
yeah, yep, me too. But
Yeah.
turns out you can get Alzheimer's, dementia much
Oh,
earlier or at
great.
all
Maybe that's
if
maybe
you
that's what's wrong with me.
if you do that routinely. Yeah, I mean, I was like, ooh, I think I've probably had enough for my lifetime. I need to kick the habit. But the answer is yes, Patrick. I don't want to say everybody can just kick any
Yeah, yeah.
medication or aid they use, but I can tell you that if you do adopt consistent routines, and again, I want to stress how simple things you can put into place can really be instrumental in helping you sleep better. Um, it is possible that you can get off medications. One thing is, don't drink alcohol,
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
right before you go to sleep in particular. That will mess up your sleep cycle for sure. But so the answer is yes. I mean, there are simple things, and we what we did was develop a what we call our Sleep Seven playbook
Yeah,
because
I want to, I want you to talk about that. Yeah.
we just tried to break down this consistent routine. I feel badly because I keep talking about it, but I'm not telling you what it is. So,
No, go
um,
ahead.
but we tried to break it down in seven simple steps just to help people say, "Oh, I can do that." Like that's not so
Hmm.
bad. So, but it is based in science. Everything we do is we try to, first of all, we developed this company because my business partner and I both had sleep issues, and we both didn't see that we were going to just be able to not be productive, and
Yeah.
not sleep. So, but we also really wanted to take care of our health for the longer term. I'm right there with you age wise, obviously, and you really begin to realize in middle age how important it is to think about longevity and health. But with sleep, what I realized is it can definitely accomplish a longevity goal as far as brain and physical health are concerned. And I want to make sure we cover that because part of our
Yeah,
mission
go
is
ahead.
making people understand that the reason we're called the Inactive Company is because we really want to drive home the point that your body is working just as hard as it does if when you're doing movement exercise when you're awake as it does when you're sleeping. Every single system in your body, just because you're laying there inactively, it doesn't mean your body isn't working hard. It is.
Yeah,
So
that's what people don't realize that your body goes through a bunch of regenerative techniques. It clears out certain proteins, I think, in your brain and stuff like that. It gets rid of a lot of stuff and toxins in your body.
definitely.
Yeah, that's why it's so important.
Well, and back to the whole, can you get off medications or can you solve the problem of the racing mind that doesn't let you go to sleep, or the, you know, constant wake ups in the middle of the night where you can't get back to sleep from? You can, if you start thinking in the morning and going through the process at night all the way through the evening to that help you sleep better. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I kind of got off track, but the
No,
playbook,
no, it's fine.
based in science, really, it's the playbook itself. These 7 steps are similar to creating a new habit. To, some of these aren't not going to sound revolutionary, but if you just put them together, you will be able to sleep better. So the first one we call go long, commit. You have to state the
Mhm.
intention. I am going to sleep better.
Yeah. You got to
You
get it in
can't
your
say it.
mind, and
That's
get to
right.
have that intent. Yeah.
Exactly. And going long means saying, I'm going to sleep for 7 to 9 hours every single night. And guess what? You can begin to sleep 7 to 9 hours if you start going to bed at the same time every day. Weekends, weekdays, if you're on the night shift, still have the same bedtime when you're off and can sleep. But the consistency of your bedtime is critical,
Yeah.
and allow yourself the time to get 7 to 9 hours. The second step is teaming up. Really, we used to say, oh yeah, well, let's start the meeting at 7 a.m. or let's do this. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I can do whatever. If you really start saying, no, actually sleep is important, and develop and talking about it with other people and saying, yeah, if you're an idiot, if you don't think it's important to sleep, there are different ways you can start to develop a sleep culture among your group, whomever that is.
Yeah.
For you said you were a battalion commander. If my ex-husband's battalion commander had gotten up and said, you guys, you got to sleep, let's do these things, or let's talk
Yeah.
about it, that would have been critical for my ex-husband when he was 25 years old to hear.
Yeah.
So the teaming up and really creating a sleep culture and holding each other accountable is a critical step to getting better sleep, turns out. The third one is getting in the zone. Your bed, should be for sleeping. Don't study in
Not
your bed.
eating,
Don't
not
eat.
eating.
Don't watch
Don't.
TV. Don't play games. Just do your business of sleeping in your bed.
See,
Um,
I'm guilty of that,
are
Lori.
you?
So my wife and I have the TV in the bedroom.
It's not terrible, but what I would say is turn that bad boy off an hour before
Yeah.
you're actually going to go to sleep.
And that's what we do. We kind of settle down, we do some prayers, and then we turn it off, and then we kind of
Great.
we don't. The one thing I never liked, and again, it's a bad habit to have it in the room because I agree with you. It's not good. I mean, but one thing I used to do, which is horrible, is have the TV on when I slept because I
No.
needed that sound. But I've since gotten away with that or gotten
Okay.
rid of that.
That is common and it's terrible.
Yeah,
That light, what you're doing is you're putting blue light back into your eyes.
absolutely.
And if you ever listen to people like Andrew Huberman, the Stanford,
Yeah,
sleep,
yeah.
he's not a sleep specialist, but he's actually a scientist. I think he specializes actually in ocular,
Yeah.
eyes. But even one red pin light at the bottom of your TV being on in a room can be problematic to getting good sleep. Any kind of light source, complete darkness is the best environment to get better sleep. So a
Mhm.
simple, consistent routine element would be making sure you create a sleep cave. It should be the bed that's comfortable and only for sleeping, and it should be completely dark at the time that you're going to go to sleep. Leading up to that time, you should be experiencing progressively lower light, just bring down all the lights, turn off the TV, turn off your devices, and then transition to complete darkness. So
Yeah.
that's the third one. The fourth one is eyes on the prize. And this is where we really get to the sleep mask, and why we thought this was such a great solution, because you can't always create complete darkness in a room, especially
No,
if you
you
have your
can.
own house.
Yeah. And
So
so that mask creates the darkness.
that's right. With and we created special features in this mask so that it's ergonomically designed, so no matter what your facial features are or the size of your head is, you can accomplish 100% blackout with our mask, because as you
It's
can see,
amazing.
you can mold it, to your face, but it's still really lightweight. It's not one of these big heavy things you've seen on the market other places. It's also not just a little piece of silk laying over your eyes. Is actually a performance
Yeah.
piece of performance equipment that will fit so you can achieve that critical complete darkness. So eyes on the prize, thinking about getting that darkness so you can get better sleep is number 4 in our 7. The fifth one is dream it, do it. Uh, Critical performance, athletic, and even first responder type um, kind of tool is visualization. It
Yeah,
works.
absolutely.
So see yourself sleeping. Instead of listening to your mind churning, try looking in your mind's eye at your favorite beach, or use visualization, see yourself sleeping.
Mhm.
So dream it, do it. Number 6 is pregame pep talk, kind of related. This is when you say an affirmation that then complements your visualization. My business partner always likes to say her affirmation is, I'm going to kick sleep's ass. But
I love it. I love it.
yours can be anything. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so talk yourself into sleep. Also, if you say something, and it might be a mantra, and if you can start saying one word or one phrase, that will begin to override the racing thoughts that go through so many people's minds and keep them awake. And then the last thing is, we call it extra points. You should reward yourself when you do sleep well. Treat yourself to whatever it is you were
Yeah.
looking for, nice dinner, or whatever. Take your wife, and both of you have this sleep contract of, yes, we're really going to value sleep, and then reward yourself for it.
I love it. And they're simple, they're easy to I think remember, but the hard thing, like you said, is just people doing them.
Yeah,
But I love how you're incorporating, because I work in behavioral health, like I told you, and I love, because I'm a big visualization kind of person. And you hit it, Lori. I mean, if you have to, you take anybody, any successful person, anybody, you probably, I'm assuming, even though I hate to assume, you probably saw, visualized where you wanted to be
absolutely.
at a certain point in your career and you got it, but you had to visualize it first. So when you say visualize waking up, sleeping, if you could come out of your body, I know it sounds, the listeners are going, what the hell is this guy talking about? But if you could come out of your body and see yourself soundly sleeping, visualize that.
Yeah, see it, do it.
Yeah.
It's talking yourself into something, and it also gives your mind something to do besides ruminate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. And I think an important aspect of this, and I would imagine you would probably agree, is, if you're eating junk, if you're eating crap, that's going to affect your sleep. And I know this going back and looking at my law enforcement career when I was working nights, and maybe you could relate to this because you were married to a cop. You're not eating the best, and so you're eating all kinds of energy drinks and all kind of shit. And then when I go home and I'm trying to sleep, okay, it's going to make it that much more difficult because I'm jacked up on Red Bull and all this other crap. So for you people out there, I mean, you can prep beforehand, make nutritious meals. So even if you are working a graveyard shift, you can get off, get Lori's mask, do the visualization, do the 7 steps, and you'll be on your way to better sleep.
Exactly. If the whole the other part of the trick, and it's really tough for law enforcement, first responders, ex-military, a lot of us, is lowering your cortisol.
Yeah.
You get used to the cortisol high. I did, and you got to turn that off. You got to signal to your body that everything is now okay, and I can safely go to sleep. Bottom line. And you can use breathing to do that. I read a lot about the power of the exhale. If you
Oh yeah.
can just heavy exhales without hyperventilating, can really help you calm yourself down and take your body into calmer, less cortisol heavy state that will help you
Yeah.
sleep.
You want that. And the objective is to get that REM sleep, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And because of cortisol, like you said, and cortisol, listeners probably know what that is, that especially when you get older like me, that settles in your midsection.
Well, and cortisol is good when you are chasing a bad guy,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
putting out a fire. Like you have to be hyped. But what I'm saying is, particularly people in those environments they get addicted to
Absolutely. They get addicted to it and
mm-hmm.
they can't turn it off,
That's right.
and it's so hard, but it's like anything else, like we started, when we started, Lori, it's like you develop those habits, and it's easy, but so many people struggle with it, like me for a long time. I'm getting better, but just do the habits. Well, I think we all want, you correct me if I'm wrong. We're always looking for the quick fix,
Yeah.
the pill, whatever. But in order to have better sleep, you have to follow certain steps. Like you said, here's the 7 steps. It's not rocket science, but you need to do it, because I know when I get good sleep, my cognitive, ability is better. I can think clearer, all that stuff. And like I
Excellent.
said, as a cop, I used to think, I got 4 hours of sleep. I'm
Good.
at the top of my game. Of course, when I was in my 20s, no, 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 no. Your reaction time's off. Your thinking is off because you're not getting that sleep. I think what do we need? Minimum 7 hours of sleep a night. I think
Right.
humans
7 to 9. That's right.
seven to nine.
Mhm, mhm. And that is because you want to allow enough time to get optimally 4 deep sleep cycles, REM cycles, in during your circadian rhythm. So it just takes time for your body and your brain to go through all these cleansing processes and then to get you into a deeper sleep. So, I mean, it takes time, just like working out takes time. So does building, regenerating, and cleansing all your systems at night. And I would, what's interesting, one kind of factoid may be relevant to your listeners. Certainly is probably relevant to a lot of people. It's definitely relevant to a lot of the males, particularly that I know, is that the most testosterone is produced during sleep.
Yeah, I've heard
People,
that.
and so, you're producing growth hormone, you're regenerating your muscles, you are resetting your pain desensitivity, so you'll feel less pain if you sleep better. You will balance all your stress hormones, you will clear your toxins in your body, you will be better emotionally regulated, which means you'll make better decisions home and at work. You'll just be a better human. And then obviously it also helps to decrease inflammation. That's a lot of work that's
That is,
happening.
yeah, oh, yeah.
So it's a good, there's good productivity for the 7 to 9 hour commitment.
Let me ask you this, Lori. I mean, since this is your business, sleep now, I've heard that because we all say it, I got to make up some sleep, or I'm trying to catch up on my sleep. I have heard, and you probably know, that once you lose that sleep, like if I go to bed tonight and get 2 hours of sleep, God forbid, and you can't catch up on sleep. Once it's gone, it's gone. Is that true?
Pretty much. You can sort of bank. sleep a little bit. It's better if you do it proactively, if you know you're
Yeah.
not going to sleep as well. For example, if you're going to be traveling and changing time zones, or if you're going to be working a different shift and you're just trying to,
What do you mean by
shift.
bank? What do you mean by bank sleep?
So you,
Get
it,
a nap or something or
yep. I'm not talking about take a 4 hour nap and then sleep 2 hours at night. I'm talking about just gradual shifts. So we're talking, 30 minutes, adding
okay.
30
Power nap.
minutes leading up. That's right. So you can do some subtle shifting to help transition into different environments or situations that you have. But yeah, I mean, if you sleep 4 hours a night for 2 years, you're just killing your body irreparably in some cases. It's just not good at all. And you're also, if you sleep less than 6 hours a night, you're increasing your chances of a fatal heart attack by
Yeah.
200%.
That's
200%.
crazy. And that's crazy. And with all these, because I have sleep apnea. Yeah, I said it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's even more important for
Yep.
me to get good restorative sleep. And like I said, I've gotten a lot better, but occasionally I'll have those nights where I just get up,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, I mean, so that's why I wanted to ask you about the catching up,
So
to sleep.
if you do have a bad night, don't, give yourself a beating for it, but take a 30 to 90-minute nap when you can and try again the next night, back to your consistent bedtime and this whole idea of the routine and the consistency. But don't stress out about, oh, I messed up one night or had a really bad night and now I'm screwed. It's not that. It really is, all right, well, that wasn't so great, so let's go back to morning light, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, I love what you said about the sun. I never knew that. It makes sense because the sun is, so, we get renewed by the sun, obviously, but I never knew that kind of resets your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, you think
Lori,
about
yeah.
our
Oh, go ahead.
ancestors, and that's kind of what it all goes back to. People went to sleep when it got dark because there was nothing else to do. There was no electricity, and so our bodies and brains are just evolutionarily programmed to sleep when it's dark and wake up as the sun begins to rise. So
But
that's
just because you work at night, like I did for many years, and maybe first responders that are listening work that overnight shift, doesn't mean that you can't get restorative sleep,
right.
right? You just
Right.
got to develop, like you were saying, habits. Go over to the Inactive Company, check out their product. I mean, it looks amazing. I'm going to order one. But yeah, you can get restorative sleep.
Yes, yes, exactly. I would love for anybody in your audience, Patrick, to, if they are interested in going to our website, it's inactivecode.com. But if you would like to use the code SLEEP25, you will get a 25% discount.
Woo! So for the listeners out there, you heard it from Lori. She's a bigwig. She's the CEO, co-founder. That's going to be linked up in the show notes. Lori, any final thoughts before we sign off on sleep?
We value the work that particularly your audience does, and I just want them to all know that. So take care of yourself. We need the people that are out there listening to your podcast, Patrick. And in my experience with my ex-husband, sometimes he didn't take care of himself the way he should. And my hope is that this will just remind everybody out there, doesn't matter, male, female, young, old, take care of yourself by getting those 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You'll feel
And
amazing.
start when you're young.
Exactly.
Lori Oliver, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you. Folks, everything we talked about is going to link up in the show notes. Lori, God bless. Thank you so much. Keep doing the great work with the Inactive Company.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.